Like many immigrants from Latin America, when Victor Cartagena came to San Francisco, he landed in the Mission District. He was 19 years old and made the trip by himself. Victor was an aspiring art student in El Salvador when he was forced to leave his family and flee the country in 1985, escaping a bloody civil war that was ravaging his homeland. With some distance between him and the war, Victor has been able to create work from the memories of that terrifying time.
Being here, I can express myself. Those images of my family, those who disappear, everything that has to do with that feeling of suffering and being away, or remember those dark images.
Galleria de la Raza is exhibiting Victor's installation called Invisible Nation.
Hey, hola, Rocky.
¿Cómo estás?
Victor collected over 10,000 photos from a small photography studio in downtown San Salvador. Many of the pictures were for passports of people leaving the country, over 2 million in the last 20 years. In escaping war and poverty, many Salvadorians have become low-paid laborers in the U.S. Victor has suspended these photos in tea bags and called the work Labor Tea, a pun on liberty.
Immigrants are really as a tea bag that they put it into water, they suck as much as they can, and they are disposable.
These days, Victor is able to work on his art full-time, spending most of his waking hours in his studio. There's no phone and no internet access, keeping distractions at a minimum.
Basically, it's like a laboratory, you know, all the ideas start cooking.
Growing up in a war zone politicized Victor at an early age.
Politics was around, and because of that, I think we learned to pay attention. I think we are more aware about what's going on.
Victor digests an enormous amount of news and media, clipping hundreds of articles and photographs. The media infuriates and inspires him.
I go into a place of frustration and I got upset, and the only way I can do something is just doing my art, you know. At this point, I didn't even know that I was doing this work, you know, like I was just really getting upset, and that's the way I started putting red noses everywhere. And I said, the anatomy of la mentira, anatomy of lie.
The Anatomy of Lies became a series of paintings, large faces with red noses, which grew directly out of Victor's clippings and sketchbook. But he also finds inspiration in what's happening in the community around him.
This is a series working with local issues. What's going on in the neighborhood where I live. Talking about homelessness, you know, collecting original homeless sign.
Even as Victor has tried to put violence behind him, it forces its way back into his life and work. In response to gang shootings in his neighborhood, he created the installation called Bang Bang Toy Gun.
My little brother got involved with those guns, and also he was shot. And he survived, you know, but he was, you know, a victim. How do you treat your kids? What do you give to them? And my boy never received a toy guns or any gift that has to do with violence. And I would never gonna allow him to play with these war toys.
Some of Victor's past work seems prophetic now. paintings based on kidnappings and torture in El Salvador evoke the U.S. war on terror. The conflict in Iraq has compelled Victor to respond.
You know, the soldiers are really dropping candies to the children, but in another image, they dropping bomb.
The night before bombs were dropped on Baghdad, he found himself at a dinner party with friends, feeling anguished about the impending war.
How can I be here, eating, drinking, and talking? I know that what they're going through, because it's something really familiar. Probably that's what I was suffering, and I was feeling guilty.
The experience led to a work called Con los ojos vendados, or With Their Eyes Blindfolded. Victor made faces out of bread dough and set them around a dinner table.
We don't want to see certain things, and that's how I was in that dining table. We really were blind here, We know that something is happening and we don't want to see it. We don't even want to talk about it.
Victor is part of a group show that opens tonight at the Mission Cultural Center called Where Here is Latino Art. The exhibition celebrates contemporary artists whose work defies simple cultural or stylistic categories. In his own work, Victor continues to experiment with different media and tackle thorny topics. His sense of urgency remains to make art that challenges injustice and complacency.
I think the art itself is political. In general, whatever you say, it has to do something with the human condition in one way or another one, to say something, to participate.